Good morning, last of the summer. Let's start with the feet hip distance apart. Slightly different flexion extension of the spine. Let's start with the arms really wide. Now soften the knees and like you're gathering. So we're really active fingertips. These really arching kind of eagle arms all the way down. And then the fingers find each other, interlace and roll up through the spine. At this phase of the movement, the shoulder blades are still separated. Let the thumbs find the temples and slowly, gently lift the head. Then let's flip the palms up to the ceiling for a little back bend, but no, we're doing it in the lower back. Think more about lengthening the front of the chest, releasing the arms still open across the chest, those cactus arms, and then we'll go again. So that makes sense. We gather, we're round, we're folding. Maybe initially we only bend the knees a little bit. Interlacing the fingers, still stretching the back of the body as we press into the floor. Thumbs find the temples, dropping the shoulders, softening the knees again, looking up, open wide across the elbows, palms to the ceiling, that extra stretch, maybe a little bit of a side to side wiggle, and then opening wide, active to the fingertips, getting that rounding now, again, as we flow forwards. So if we speeded that up a little bit, you might feel a little bit more of a flow, but not too fast. Considering opening and closing, just feeling the intention of each part of this movement. So keep going. Now yesterday, we were talking about an active exhalation and how in doing so, we're really emptying the lungs. We're actually sort of passively not really using any muscular effort at all. We can actually use 89 muscles in the body. So today is slightly different emphasis. We're going to try to think about lengthening the exhalation. So you're all familiar with the positives, the benefits of lengthening that out breath. So now I'm going to start to count. If the count is too slow, too fast for you, you can take it at your own pace. But I'm going to suggest an in-breath for 4, an exhalation for 5. An in-breath for 5, an exhalation for 6, and so on until we finish on 8. See how we go, but it's just mindful breathing and moving anyway. So let's all start together. And if we don't end together, that's fine. You make it your own. So let's start to gather into this rounded position. Now breathe in as you uncurl. Find the temples, keep breathing in, reaching all the way up. And breathing out, opening, and the next time we'll add on a count. So let's breathe in 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hang like a rag doll. Pause, let the arms hang heavily, and take a gentle swing around your feet. Heads heavy, shoulders heavy, arms. So here we have a gentle stretch of the backs of the legs, but just pausing for the blood to accumulate that all the benefits of an inversion. And we'll pause here for a moment. Soften the knees, one vertebra at a time, head last and come up, roll up through the spine. So at the very top, rolling the shoulders back and down. Second little theme, second to last theme, I won't overload you. For today is about exploring our edges. So we'll start with the spinal twist where the feet are wider than hip distance apart and we'll gently sway side to side. Now, if we're thinking about our edges, This could be considered a nice soft edge. We're rotating through the spine, nice and easy, not forcing anything. But then we could start to take the legs a little bit wider, bend, lunging from side to side. It might be kind of a medium level of effort. And sometimes we take the standing saw, and I would say that's probably the most vigorous. And I invite you to not do that unless you've already done warm-ups, exercises that will lengthen the hamstrings. But otherwise, that and reset of that standing saw that we often take further into the class, that would be considered more like the aggressive, forceful end of a spinal twist. And there's no one which is right or wrong. It's more about what stage our body's at in terms of our practice, warm-up, injuries. So just taking some time to consider which is the right edge to go for. So let's just take the last couple of spinal twists where we might be sticking with a gentle sway, because that might feel a little bit better if there's a little bit of stress in the spine. We might take this lunge with or without the opening in the top arm. So just trying to be a little bit more curious than maybe we would normally be, to think, how is this feeling? Am I going right to an aggressive edge, or am I just coaxing a little bit more flexibility with each repetition side to side? So we'll explore this also with the extended side angle. Let's turn the right toes to the right, bend till the knee is over the ankle. The left toes are pointing forwards, and let's just rest on the forearms. So here might be maybe a little bit too gentle, easy, or with a hand on the hip. Notice how we can just collapse. That's probably a little bit too easy going, the softest of our edges in this position. So just explore. So it may be just working with the feet into the floor that we more energetically engage the legs. It may be that lifting the top arm over the ear and working on turning the chest forwards just gets to that middle range where things are happening, but we can still be mindful, still own that movement. We still have a neutral spine. And maybe we extend the lower arm, but it's just noticing where is appropriate for this movement, for your body, and for this particular side, whether we need to back off or push ourselves a little bit harder. So being curious, we sometimes, or as a rule, we probably want to find that middle ground where it's not too easy. Goldilocks principle, the middle ground where there's no aggression to it, there's kind of mindful control, there's more a space of opportunity, potential, growing stamina, but mindfully. So whichever level that is, just making sure that you're going just at the right level for you. And let's lower that top arm and take it to the side. You might want to shrug out the shoulders. So turning the left toe to the left, knee over ankle, and initially find like a soft edge where you could kind of hang out almost without effort, but then making it a strengthening movement. So finding that strong foundation through the feet, lengthening through the spine, long through the neck, shoulders down, tailbone slightly tucked, less leaning on the thigh, more using the thigh to increase the inner thigh stretch, but again, not overdoing it. Finding where the best position for the top arm and for the neck. So if we look beyond the armpit, if you've got neck niggles, it's just not right. Look down at the floor. So keeping curious, playing around with it, maybe see if we can take the weight out of this forearm. See if that's just a little bit too far. We'll leave that for another day. So breathing deeply in and out of the nose, can we start to make the exhalation a tiny bit longer? So we're gripping the floor. Notice as the mind wanders, we might then sink a little bit into a softer edge. Maybe we can keep present by keeping that awareness on the breath, that engagement in the core, length, finding length through the body, thinking about lines, spaces, Deeply breathing in and out of the nose, with a little bit of lingering on the exhalation. And then slowly lower down. Toe and heel the feet in. Let's hold the shoulders and shrug out, roll the shoulders. Brilliant. While the legs are wide, let's circle out the hips. So we'll take what will probably feel like quite a simple sun salutation on each side, but it's then maybe making you think about certain phases that then you can take into your practice elsewhere. Thinking, am I just comfort zoning there? Or am I pushing myself and actually not helping the body at all? So if you take those hip circles in the other direction, most of you already know the modifications that you like to make. So, it's not about all those rules going out the window. Still listen to yourself, but just maybe have a rethink and think, am I still, the version of sun salutations I've been doing for years, is it still the right one? So if you come to the front of your space, and I'll just be giving you a few thoughts to add in. So we'll start leading with the right leg, and then my head's disappeared, but it will reappear. Big toes together or apart. Roll the shoulders back and down. Now press down through the big toes. Let's at least start with really strong activated inner thighs, a nice neutral spine, so that our Tadasana is really stacked, strong and long. Let's use that opening to start the sun salutations, arms out wide, soften the knees, round the back, round and gather, interlace the fingers, pulling up energetically, holding the head, flipping the palms, deep breath, stretching, releasing the hands and coming into a forward fold. The right leg will step back to a runner lunge or with the back knee down. So here, again, should the knee always go down, or sometimes if that's your practice, we want to try lifting the knee even for a couple of seconds. If the knee's down or lifted, can we lengthen the neck so that the gaze is down and we're finding space release in the back of the neck with the shoulders down? Finding how much we allow the hips to soften forwards and down so that we measure how much of a stretch we get into the right hip flexors. Can we support the wrists by clawing into 10 fingers? Start to think about the position of the shoulders, so that external rotation, so that the creases of the elbow start to point forwards. So the same thing, that when we come into a plank, do we need the knees down the whole time, or do we try to lift them? So let's slowly lift, thinking about the transition, slowly step back to a plank. If it's that unhelpful level of discomfort, the knees go down, because we're switching to the arms now for our emphasis. So knees can be down, elbow creases pointing forward. If that means turning the hands, fingers to point out a little bit, that's all good. Shoulders down, now zip up those lower abs, and we're taking half tricep dips, only going halfway, checking in. We've still got a long line from the knees to the crown of the head, pressing into 10 fingers, the underside knuckles, and resetting up high. So let's go a few times. We can glance down and check if the wrists, elbows, shoulders are still in a line. We can make that movement a little bit smaller. So if I were to place a meter rule on the back of your body, from the backs of the knees up to the crown of the head, we will maintain that long line. And knowing your age also means that if this is just too much, the heat's too much, you take a child pose. Because we'll all have a tendency, some of us will tend probably to push ourselves too far. Some of us might be a little bit timid and pull back. So it's just really tuning in. And then we're going to take a down dog, but it's a child pose, extended child pose, if that's what your body needs. So let's lift the hips high and let's pedal it through. Walking dog, walking through one foot at a time. Now, just holding a down dog is a great practice in finding a lovely long line in the spine. Especially if we get a little bend in the knees, you can start to feel a real lengthening along the spine. We try to turn the biceps a little bit to point forwards. Think about externally rotating from the shoulders so that we're not finding that compression over packed shoulder joint. If anything, your hands can be slightly wider than the shoulders. That can sometimes help us feel less constricted in the shoulders. Pausing, see if you can hold for one more breath here energetically through the legs, through the arms, through your breath. We're stepping the right foot forward. So your version, maybe the knees coming down, but let's meet with the right foot in place. Initially, see if you can lift the back knee. And again, we're flirting with that idea. Do we need it down? Resting on the floor, could we lift even briefly? We're coming to the front of the mat, feet in line, roll up through the spine. This time, let's open the arms wide, stretching for the side wall, just feeling that connection between the shoulder blades as we lift until the hands meet, and a long exhalation as the thumbs come back to the heart space, pressing into the sternum, slightly bowing the head. Just pause. Off we go again, arms out wide, active fingertips, gathering arms, rounding the back, all the way forwards, energetically lifting, create some invisible resistance here with interlaced fingers, helping to lift the head, dropping the shoulders, flipping the palms to face upwards, lengthen through the spine. Just at the right level where we're feeling length in the spine, not straining. And let's open the arms, cactus arms come to our fold. Let's pause, holding the ankles, bowing the head, and take a few rounds of bending the knees till the chest is on the thighs, and then re-straightening the legs. Here, flirting with the edges, finding just the right level of yummy stretch to the backs of the legs without overdoing it. We're preparing to step the left foot back. So find the floor, left foot stepping back, and again, this time, run a lunge on this side, maybe the knee automatically goes to the floor, and maybe that is the right place, but just have a go at lifting the hips and creating space. So this means the head dips down to create space to lift. And just see what's the right space for you. We try to keep everything stacked, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Let's try and protect the wrists a little bit more by clawing into 10 fingers, feeling the webbing of the index and thumb pressing down, shoulders down, so the lats from the armpits, down the sides of the waist, engaging and supporting the body. Pressing energetically into the floor through the feet. Breathing deeply, lengthen through to the crown of the head, and let's take a plank. So it's fine, knees down or lifted. More important, curl your pubic bone up towards the ribs and find that engagement in the lower abdominals. And then drawing the ribs together. So maybe the spine actually starts to poke up towards the seam between the shoulder blades. We've got the strength from underneath, along the abdominals and the front ribs, spine long, heels to the back wall, either with the knees lifted or on the floor. Have a go at slightly bending and then pressing up. See how much of the body muscles you can engage in this so that we're not overloading one muscle group. So if we concentrate on long through the spine, engaging through the hands, and then let's take a down dog. Here, extended child pose is a great alternative, especially if you're feeling any strain in the wrists. Either way, listening to the body so it's all good. See if you can find a little bit more length in that exhalation. Now for the last down dog, see if you can take a bend into the knees and make the spine the longest it can be. So it might be putting your bum a little bit side to side. Pressing into the floor, so you're resisting the floor, lifting the sit bones up the wall behind. Breathing deeply and see if you can lengthen that exhalation and settle into your inverted feet. Amazing. Let's lift the heels high, bend the knees. We'll set the left foot to the front, assisted or repositioning when we get there. And pause to connect with the floor. Imagine you're pressing the feet down and together. You're scissoring thighs together so that actually we can reduce the pressure on the hands. Let's roll the shoulders back and down, lengthen, still looking down so that the back of the neck isn't constricted. We're coming to the front of the mat when you're ready. Let's circle the wrists all the way up as we roll up through the spine. One vertebra at a time and roll the shoulders. Shake out the hands and we're going to come down onto all fours. One round of sun salutations done mindfully and engaging the whole body is enough to get your body temperature up, isn't it? So from all fours, we're going to take a wandering all four position with the hips swaying all the way around. It almost becomes like a figure eight as the shoulders sway one side, your hips the other. Finding your way into a release, stretch for the shoulders, the hips. And see if you can reverse that movement, which always feels a little bit strange. I'm going to take a pigeon into a seated twist. As I was talking so much, I was forcing you to hold positions for a lot longer than we normally would. So let's give the hips a nice stretch. Let's take the right knee forwards. And I think we know our options that we can take the mermaid stretch or have the knee hat in front. Then we're on the seam, the front seam of the back leg, otherwise softening the back knee. Now, whether the back knee is straight or in that mermaid curve bend, let's pace the hands across beyond that front knee for a twist. Not overdoing it. So again, it's just exploring those edges. So almost think about a cat-cow movement in the lower back, just to make sure we find we set on a position that's just right for the spine, where we're long, and we're getting a stretch for the hip flexors of the back leg. Breathing deeply, trying to settle and soften on that exhalation. The back leg, wherever you've placed it, is going to come all the way to the outside of the front knee. I'm going to give it a little hug. So we're aiming for both sit bones to find the floor. May not happen today. But just enjoy that grounding down through the lower body here. And that's that kind of action-reaction, pulling up through the spine. Knee coming towards the opposite armpit, hugging gently in and leaning into that target hip to deepen the stretch. We have the other side to do. So if it was your right knee that was forward first, we're now onto the left knee forward, so that top knee on the floor. And let's just first of all settle with where's the right edge for this side, because it may be different. Maybe we need to take a bend into that back leg. A little bit of a twist, so your upper body continues the movement away from the back leg. Pausing to enjoy whatever sensations of the hip flexors, the top of the extended leg. And then, particularly if you have lower back niggles, just think about kind of cat-cow movement and make sure we don't have an excessive sway back, kind of lordotic curve that can be really painful and chronically awful. So let's just make sure we find just the right position for the lower spine to lengthen through the spine. Breathing deeply, just finding the right edge. And then we'll take a seated twist. So the back leg, let's take it all the way forward. And this time, trying to get the foot flattish to the floor, trying to get the knee towards the ceiling. You know, these are guidelines so that we can work towards to find the right level along that edge. Wherever you are, nice and long through the spine. And here is a lovely position for the hips, for the spine, for our alignment, just the fleshy feet under the chin, long right to the crown of the head. We can maybe give ourselves a breather and think about breathing in and adding a count or two to lengthen the exhalation. Again, on this side, we can lean into the hip, target hip to intensify or make that a slightly more forceful edge stretch. Enjoy. We're going to come onto our backs. When you're ready, slowly untwist, shake out the legs, a little bit of a roll from one bottom cheek to the other, and then let's meet with the knees into the chest. Last little rock on the spine. So yesterday we did the single leg stretch, double leg stretch. Today let's do the single straight leg stretch. So when you're ready, legs up to the ceiling or wherever they get to. Let's not worry too much, and even a soft bend in the knee is fine. Hold at the back of one leg and separate the legs. A gentle pulse. Just for the first round, just feeling where the leg is ready to go without force. And then let's switch. It's a single straight leg stretch, just with a slightly easier starting point because we're thinking about an edge. Where's an easy point where we're not really feeling anything at the back of the leg? Where is too much and we need to soften, maybe soften both legs. All right, so let's now with the breath breathe in. As you breathe out, guide one leg into the chest. Only if your upper back neck is completely comfortable, we'll take the up head, neck and shoulders up to meet. So it's a gentle pulse. I'm not a fan of this vigorous. Let's see if we can be really mindful and nurturing as we guide one knee in and then the other. Last two sets. And then we'll go to double straight leg stretch. It's probably my only bugbear with the Pilates terms is that they sound quite fixed in the way you perform them. Double leg, straight leg stretch. Let's take both legs up to the ceiling. They don't have to be straight. You can support your lower back, giving yourself a wedge underneath the hips, and we can start to lower the legs and then take the legs up to the ceiling. So this is, even with bent knees, this can be our double straight leg stretch. Maybe the legs are straight, maybe the palms are by the sides, but we only go for this version if we're maintaining that neutral spine. So near the end of the class, you've been so mindful and careful with all your movements. Let's keep that care going right to the end of the class. Don't at this stage go for that aggressive, forceful edge. See if you can own every bit of the movement. Mindful in the breath. Exploring, being curious. Maybe just for one round, you push it a little bit too far, and then you know that's a little bit too far. It's time to back off a little bit. And maybe that can be the theme for the summer break. Sometimes we go a little bit easy on ourselves, and maybe we could motivate ourselves to do something a little bit more adventurous, something new. And then sometimes we are overpacking, over ambitious in what we can fit into or should fit into one day. So the theme for the summer, a little bit kinder, a little bit more realistic, going for that middle ground of edge for the most part, where we can be nurturing, but still exploring possibilities, strengthening, thinking about stamina. Last one. Keep the ribs together, navel to spine, neutral spine, supporting the hips, intermediate, shoulders down, chin tucked, and then open the knees into the chest. Amazing. Take a gentle sway of the knees side to side with the arms in that wide T. A little bit of circling of the sacrum, so the knees drawing a circle on the ceiling. And then taking those circles in the other direction. And then coming up to sitting, either rocking up or rolling onto one side. Brilliant, really, really well done.